The emergence of America as a world power. America wanted to colonize and show U.S. leadership overseas. Puerto Rico was annexed after the Spanish-American War, and in 1900 the U.S. also gained the territories of Cuba and the Philippines. On January 17, 1893, the U.S. government overthrew the monarchy of Hawaii. Hawaii was later annexed and became a state in 18. The open door policy of 1899 was put into place after the United States acquired the Philippines after the Spanish-American War. U.S. Secretary of State John Hay wrote notes to the major powers, France, Germany, Italy, Britain, Japan, and Russia, asking them not to interfere with the free use of the treaty ports within China. The open door policy stated that all European nations could trade with China. The construction of the Panama Canal began by the French in the 1880s. It was then purchased in 1914 by the United States. The Panama Canal connected the Gulf of Mexico to the Pacific Ocean through the country of Panama. For 60 years, the U.S. owned and ran the canal. The Venezuela crisis was a naval blockade from December 1902 to February 1903. It was imposed on Venezuela by Germany, Italy, and Britain because President Castro of Venezuela refused to pay foreign debts to the European nations after their help in the Venezuelan Civil War of 1859 to 1863. The blockade was mainly German warships which disabled the Venezuelan small army. President Castro refused to give in, and President Theodore Roosevelt of the United States sent down U.S. fleets to monitor the German warships. Theodore Roosevelt threatened that if the Germans landed in Venezuela, that America would attack the Germans. After this conflict, the Roosevelt Corollary was added to the United States' Monroe Doctrine. The Roosevelt Corollary was added to the Monroe Doctrine in 1904. It was wrote by Theodore Roosevelt, who was elected president in 1900. He was re-elected in 1904. He believed that the U.S. needed to have a strong relationship with the world and the other nations. He felt the future of this in using military and financial power to reduce the control that Europe had in the new countries in the Western Hemisphere and in Latin America. President William Taft used the strategy known as dollar diplomacy. Dollar diplomacy was where the U.S. government would loan money to foreign nations in a way to influence the policy of these nations. The Federal Reserve Act of 1913 was put into place by Congress and created a federal agency that could regulate the amount of the war in Europe and America's stand as a neutral nation. On January 22, 1917, President Woodrow Wilson restated that the United States would remain a neutral nation unless the lives of American citizens were threatened. On January 31, 1917, Germany declared unrestricted submarine warfare, sinking all ships located within the war zone. The Zimmermann letter was intercepted and published March 1, 1917. It was written by Arthur Zimmermann, Germany's Foreign Defense Secretary. It proposed the German-Mexican alliance and promised Mexico the states of Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas with their help in the war. During the first 2 weeks of March, 4 unarmed United States merchant ships were sank by German U-boats. The world must be made safe for democracy. Its peace must be planted upon the tested foundation of political liberty. We have no selfish ends to serve. We desire no conquest, nor domination. We seek no amenities for ourselves, nor material compensation for the sacrifices we shall freely make. Woodrow Wilson, War Message to Congress, April 2, 1917. On April 2, 1917, President Woodrow Wilson went to Congress and asked to declare war on Germany. The 14-point system was put into place by President Woodrow Wilson after he asked Congress to declare war on Germany. Some of the most important points of this system were the abolishment of secret treaties, the revocation of freedom of the seas, the removal of economic barriers between nations, and regulation of the weapons a nation could have. It also foreshadowed the League of Nations, which President Wilson dreamed would provide security over nations and the oceans. Republicans referred to President Wilson as God Almighty Wilson with the 14th Commandment. After the United States declared war on Germany, Americans developed a hate against German books and German songs. Orchestras no longer played German-composed music. The Espionage Act of 1917 and the Sedition Act of 1918 was put into place to protect Americans from Germans and anti-war Americans. Back home in America, the slogan was "Labor will end the war." It was used by the American workers. The War Department put the work or fight rule into place in 1918, which threatened any unemployed man to be drafted. The National War Labor Board was developed to end labor disputes and work to raise wages and support the 8-hour workday. The steel strike of 1919. Steel producers wanted to keep the steel industry ununionized, but steel workers wanted to form a union. Local officials banned all outdoor meetings of strikers. The mounted police ended the strike